Welcome everyone to the Masters of Code video series. It's a video series which is dedicated to the builders of tomorrow who are busy scripting our future with technology. And I'm very happy to share that today we have with us a hero from Web 2.0 world who is now scripting a part of our future in Web 3.0 world, Phanendra Sama. He has co-founded Bipso, where he's reimagining tools for Web 3.0 communities, and that's what we're going to talk about today. How to reimagine the tools for Web 3.0 community. And it's going to be a very candid conversation. And I'm very thankful to Funny that he's agreed to do this and share what he has been up to. I believe it's been quite a few months to almost a year since he has been building this. So Funny, welcome to the Masters of Code, and thanks so much for taking your time for this.
Thanks, Alok. Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
So Funny, right from the start, I want to start with this very basic question, wherein I want to know that what have you been up to over the last 1 year? Because I know that it started from building in public, and that's the core where it started. And now with Web 3.0, you kind of reimagined, and then you are talking to a lot of communities. I'm seeing that the sincere efforts which you have been putting to put this in perspective. So can you walk us through what have you been up to with Bipso, previously, which was Biprelia?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Alok. So actually, we have envisioned a future where people come together and create products. This is also from my past experience of building Redbus, where my experience has been the best of the ideas came from outside the team. And also as a CEO, my role was to get outside ideas into the team. Like you go out, meet people, understand the new ideas, the way the industry is shaping, or the new technologies that are emerging, or the new ways of doing business that is emerging, and you get that to the team. Right. So my job as a CEO was also that, like, go and get that. And besides that, we've realized that a lot of contribution from outside has really changed. I've been pivotal in our journey in the last season that I was as an entrepreneur. So yeah. I said, this is so fantastic. I've been a beneficiary of this. Now, how do we make it possible that people come together and create? Or how do builders open up their project for outside feedback seamlessly? So that's the thought that was there in my mind, because I benefited out of it. And over the last 1.5 years, on internet, I saw this phenomenon of build in public, right? I mean, people are actually building in public, and suddenly it stuck to me that, hey, now there is a cultural phenomena also that is happening, where people are saying, hey, I'll build it in public. And then I went and spoke to them saying, why are you building in public? So they gave me the reasons. They said, I'm building in public because I get visibility. And as a founder and as a new product, I want more people to know about me. So when I'm building in public, more visibility comes. And another person said, hey, I'm building in public because I get instant feedback. Right, immediately, as soon as I'm building, even before I'm building a product, people come and say whether this is a good product, not a good product, what feature to do, and etc. And another person said, hey, I build in public because I get a lot of help. People who also believe in this mission, they just join and help me create. I said, this is fantastic. All this while I was thinking that it was helpful to me, but I didn't have a word for it. And boom, there is a word and a cultural phenomena. People are jumping onto it and doing it. Right. Then I said, how do we add fuel to this whole phenomena? Right. I mean, what does building in public mean? Because the tools of the Web 2 cannot be used when you're building at a public scale. Right. For example, you take a workspace. Right. In the traditional way, a workspace is a place where people from your team come and put their ideas, knowledge, you collaborate, co-create, and etc. and all that, right? But the same workspace now has to be opened up to the world of internet scale, right? Strangers coming in, giving ideas, reading about your product, contributing to it. It cannot happen in the existing workspace because it's not built that way. Like a small thing, like you take, right? I mean, let's say if you were to give up edit access to your workspace, right? You can't do that because, right, right now the tools are built for edit access to your team, so that you have that trust that they don't come and undo some stuff and etc. Whereas you open up to internet, anything can happen. So there we said it has to be a Git-like workflow. I mean, in the workspace, there has to be a Git workflow where people come and send a merge request, and then they're kind of a layer of moderation where you accept or reject. The second thing is, even if you open up for comments in your small team, right? The comments are still self-moderated. But if you open up to internet, you need a moderation layer in the comments, right? Even another small example is pricing. The current tools are priced at per user per month. But on internet scale, if you have 1,000 collaborators or 10,000 collaborators, right? I mean, you can't pay per user per month. So every tool is very different, not only from technology perspective, but from business and from pricing and business model perspective. It has to be very different when if it were to be used by this new world of collaborators co-creating products.
So I understood that you touched 2-3 sort of differences in Web 2.0 versus the 3.0. But tell me, how far have you come in terms of building right now Wipso, and also whom are you targeting through this? Is it because I mentioned, but I've seen that you've mentioned it is focused on DAOs, right, and some of the communities. So how are you deciding that? Because I mean, when you talk about entrepreneurship in general, right, people have to define the focus. We talk about all these things. So who is your focus? What's the focus right now to kind of achieve that first, and then how are you going about it?
Perfect. So Alok, actually last year when we started, we didn't know the word DAO. We just said, hey, in my previous stint as an entrepreneur, this phenomenon was useful to me. And it stayed in my mind that, hey, this is useful. How do we institutionalize it? Was the question in my mind, in my passive mind. And about 1.5 years ago, I started seeing this phenomenon of building public. And then I thought, hey, very good. So now it's becoming a reality because people are building it that way. How do we club those two was the idea that we had. And then I looked at the tools saying, will those tools be useful in the build in public real? Then I said, no, the tools have to be different. So we started out building those tools because we strongly believed in the virtues of building as a community. And we didn't know about DAOs. We didn't know about Web3, nothing. And we started building it and we started showing it to people who are building as a community. And we started seeing that our early adopters and the traction has been coming from the Web3 world. And especially DAOs and DeFis and etc. And that's when we learned actually, oh, what is this DAO? What is this DeFi? Then we realized that actually in Web3, almost every project is built as a community first. There is no single owner of, let's say, the Bitcoin blockchain and things like that, right? I mean, many DeFis are also built with a community ownership. I said, wow. So the future that we envisioned is actually reality today. In this small section of builders who are building for Web3. And they're the ones who are saying, hey, this is a vacuum. I mean, we heard it from the Web3 guy saying, hey, we didn't know which workspace to use. It is a big vacuum here. I'm glad that you have something like this, so let's start using it. And we started seeing that they have adopted. Then we said, oh, wow. So let's start with this core group of builders who are building it that way, because we believe that it will extend beyond that. We believe that the Web2 companies and even any non-tech companies also, in fact, the not-for-profit Kakadiya Sandbox that I'm involved with, I was talking to the CEO saying, we should open up. We should open up our office in the virtual world, which is most likely Discord nowadays. So open up on Discord so that people who are interested in following us, giving us advice, interested in our success will come and give us advice. So I think this phenomena, which started in the Web3 world with DAOs and DeFi's, is going to be a big phenomena. It's going to define the future of work.
Bunny, it's still very early days when you talk about Wipso, right? And I know that there is a future which you have envisioned and you are building towards. We'll talk about that also. But before that, I want to know that currently, what people, I mean, the users current of Wipso, what are they using it for exactly, right? And then, so if you can just touch upon that. And second part is that, you mentioned about the problems with the tools of Web 2.0. I mean, not the problems, but the lack of, I'll say, their ability to adapt to Web 3.0 scenario and environment. So those are the problems, but how did you go about solving those? Like when you talk about key pay per pricing is pay per user is not possible. So how did you solve that when you say that giving permissions, right? So how kind of, because the Web 3.0 is a lot about, like I said, decentralization and incentivization both. So while building, what were some of the things which very categorically and very specifically you kept in mind? So these two questions. One is about the building of the tool, right? This and the other is what are people using it for right now?
Sure, Alok. So let me just give you a brief demo of Wipso. So when users log in, they can see all the projects that are being built with communities here. They can choose what projects to follow and participate. Let's say they like to build this open financial system, they can just follow this and they get updates about this project and thinking as to what is happening in the project. For an example, let's just go through one of the projects. I mean, Wipso is being built in public. So all our documents are just in public. You can see product documents, tech documents, design documents, marketing. Like a person who's interested in marketing can just go there and participate in the discussion there. Some of the projects, some of the documents can also be private. Like you may not, the people may not want to expose it outside, but mostly the documents are all public. So let's say you read a marketing strategy, and now you have something to contribute to it. So the user can just come and contribute to this. And when they contribute to this document, all those inputs actually go through a merge request flow. They don't directly go through. It's like in GitHub, anybody can modify a piece of software and send like a pull request, right? So you are actually modifying in your personal copy and then you send for a merge request. When you send for a merge request, the reviewer can actually go through and see the changes that are there and accept or reject the merge. So this way, you're opening up all your thinking and ideas and future plans and strategies and product features to public to contribute. And another interesting thing that happens is as people contribute, now because these projects are open and public, whatever I contribute to these open projects can also be showcased openly to others. Right? The more I contribute, it goes and builds my public profile, and that public profile, I can just show the real proof of my work, my real contributions to different projects. So a platform like this, which is inviting anybody on the internet to individual projects, need a strong reputation management system. So we need to know that, hey, this gentleman who is coming and contributing to me actually knows his stuff. I can just quickly look up his profile and say, hey, he's contributed such and such fantastic, deep, knowledgeable ideas to these projects, and hence his contributions are valuable. So there is an element of reputation management. There's an element of Git workflow. There's an element of discoverability, the social discoverability of different projects that are there. So this is what we built. Of course, there are other layers of project management that will come in. Again, our typical project management will not work in a community-based project management, because in community, what happens is you're no longer assigning tasks to hundreds of people, but there are thousands of people in your community who are picking what they want to do. All that we can do is create a list of all the things that needs to be done for the project, and then community comes and says, hey, I can do this, I can do that, right? They can come and pick. None of the existing tools actually offer or help in that thing. So So the tools for community-based projects, like the ones that are built in Web3, needs to be fundamentally be different. Almost in every tool has to be very different. So as DAOs are using our product, we're getting feedback on what else is needed to be built, and we are building those. One of the recent examples is actually DAOs came and suggested that all their thousands of contributors are in their Discord workspace, in their Discord server. Now they want a way to offer this workspace to them, especially the canvases which are not public, right? In Discord, what happens is as users contribute, they are assigned different roles. So they move up the ladder, right? So what the DAOs wanted is, as people are promoted to different roles, those roles automatically sync into the workspace. So these are all the roles that are defined in Discord. And as people are put in these different roles, these guys automatically get access to the canvases this particular role has access to. So BIP very tightly integrates with Discord so that the users on Discord automatically get access to these canvases, and through their Discord login, they can contribute, and the communication from BIP moves on to Discord seamlessly. Right? They can pick a thing and have a conversation here with any person in their Discord server, and it gets posted to the Discord server. Right? So it's like you're having in-context conversation. Instead of saying, hey, in that canvas, you mentioned this, what is it? Like, you can just choose that particular thing and have a conversation here. This gets posted to Discord, and then from Discord, people can post it back. So that's the latest thing that we learned from DAOs, and then have done a deep integration with Discord. There are more to come on web.
Thanks for running us through that. So this is actually interesting. And then, I understood that you mentioned how actually it's very different how people are using it. But just one more thing, can you give an example of, you did mention about how DAOs have given some recent feedback, which you have incorporated, and also the whole point of very close integration with Discord server is also the same, that and it kind of helps in that migration of, I'll say, what you have assigned the role of the people. But with respect to your current, early adopters, I'll say, Mesh Finance and some others, can you give one or two examples? What are they majorly using it for right now, and how are they kind of getting benefited with Bipso, which they weren't with any other tool?
Okay, so just yesterday we got one new DAO signed up, and his reason to sign up is he said, "Oh, now I understand why they were using an app which charges per user per month as a workspace." They said, "I know this is not scalable, right? Because my Discord server is just going to thousands of users, so it's just not scalable, and I want to keep track of who's contributed what, right? In a Google Doc or any doc, right? Notion and etc. There is no attribution that this particular thing is contributed by, this block is contributed by so and so. There's no leaderboard as to who is contributed to the most of my thinking and knowledge here. So those are the things which are needed in Web3, but not needed in Web2, and hence the Web2 tools don't have it. So these are the different reasons why DAOs are using BIP.
Sure. Funny, Bipso is one of the earliest in the game, right? I think in the lives of what Redbus was, but fine, it's very different. So when you're very early, it has advantage, and it has certain disadvantages. Disadvantages is that while you can transfer some of the learnings from the mistakes of your Web 2.0 journey, there are a lot of new mistakes which you will have to make, right? And there's not a lot to look up to. So in the last few months of Bipso journey, what are some of those while building Bipso which you have realized you thought this way didn't work out then immediately? Because I know, and I've been tracking a part of it in last at least 1.5 months, and I've seen that, very quickly how you guys are working, scrapping, working quickly, moving. Matlab, it is like, uh, so what are some of those, I'll say, major mistakes which you think, which you made and quickly learned and kind of moved on in Bitso journey?
All that we have is the conviction that this is going to be the future of work. This is how, because of the virtues that this way of working has, we believe that this is how the future of work is going to be. And that gives us a lot of strength and confidence to come to work every day. We know that this is not going to be maybe in a year's time. It will probably be like 3 years away, but I think we need to build it from now on. Like for example, Discord itself, right? Or like many platforms, right? I mean, when they started, I mean, only after 3-4 years that people realize the need for it and they start using it, not on the day one. So,
They explode later, basically, not at the time of when they're introduced, but there's a time when explosion happens.
Correct. You take Twitch, right? I mean, Twitch, the first 2-3 years, right? I mean, they were almost shutting down because they said nobody wanted to broadcast themselves and there was no need for it. And today we can't imagine a world without Twitch, right? And so like these platforms, right? These are platforms. You build an ability and then after a while, I mean, you build this because you have the conviction that this is how the future is going to be. So I think we are in that category, right? So and hence, because of the conviction, we get the confidence to come and do these iterations. So you're talking about the iterations that didn't work. So one of the iterations that didn't work is actually before integrating with Discord, we integrated with Slack. So because some of our users, the build in public, the Web2 guys are building in public, the Web3 guys are building in like communities. And we were going after the Web2 build in public guys, and they were all using Slack, right? They were not using Discord, they were using Slack. And we got a lot of feature requests. People are using there. They said, like one of the requests they said is, hey, we have a lot of these conversations in Slack channel, but many of these conversations, I want a permanent record of that. I want it to be documented. I want it to go to a document. So we built a small bot, which you just call on a thread. In a Slack thread, you just go and say, bip this, and it will convert that whole Slack thread into a document, and it replies with the link to that document. So it has copied all that, filed it in your workspace, and replied you a link of that document. So that was cool. People just loved it. People said, wow, right? Their problem was that they're not documenting enough. They're saying, because we are using Slack, we are not building a permanent knowledge repo, and hence we are losing out. If Slack were not there, we would have just written down all these thoughts in a document. And they're saying, as a problems, they've categorized it as a problems of using Slack. And they came and said, if you could solve it, and we solved it this way. People said, wow, great, we just love it, right? So we integrated Slack, but later, I mean, of course, the Web2 guys are not, they're still working as teams. What they wanted is their team discussion to convert into a document. But what we wanted is to go to users who are building as communities, who are building with strangers, who are building with people who are passionate about the project and may not have met in person or this thing, right? So we had the kind of a little bit of a wrong PG, and we were building the tools that were useful to them, but it's not aligned with the future of work that we wanted to. And suddenly, when we discovered DAOs and Web3 and etc., they were not using Slack. They liked the concept, but they were not using Slack. So we said, oh, we'll do it with Discord. And with Discord, now the Web3 just loves us because there are thousands of. Yesterday, we got a new user on BIP. They had 10,000 users on their server, and they were asking, I'm going to integrate it now. All the 10,000 users are going on to BIP. Will it be able to take it? We said it is going to take it, and they did the integration, and we got the 10,000 users ported. Now imagine, I mean, he was telling us that if this thing was not there, it is impossible for me to take these 10,000 people and assign them permissions in a workspace like Notion or something. It's just not possible. I just cannot manage it. I'm managing these 10,000 people. Out of these 10,000 people, 2,000 are in design, 2,000 are in product, 2,000 are in tech. All that management, I'm doing it in Discord. But if you ask me to repeat the same thing on my workspace, I'm not going to. Right? Whereas BIP offers a deep integration. So whatever you assign there, it gets replicated here, and you can use the same username here. The username also remains the same, like it is in your this thing, right? I mean,
Right.
Right? I mean, like your Discord. This is probably your Discord thing.
Yes,
so
correct.
It just remains the same here. So when I tag this and write, this is going to send you a notification on Discord. So it is that tightly integrated onto Discord.
All right. I think we are moving towards the last part of our conversation. I want you to talk about the road ahead. And of course, I know there are going to be a lot of experimentation. And I think the best part about the community, with Web 3.0, I feel is key. It's a very forgiving community, and then that kind of gives you this whole free mind to experiment and build little more, and then kind of go a little beyond your own limitations. But you would have thought, right, in next, I'll say, few months or so, in terms of features, in terms of integrations, in terms of, so what are some of the things which you're trying to incorporate in the road ahead for Wipsto?
Okay, so there are two things that we are looking at right now. The first one is the project management. How will a project management tool for a community-based project look like? Like I said, there is no top-down assignment of the task, but there is a bottom-up choosing of tasks, right? So it needs to be a very different tool from the tools that exist now. So we are actually building that tool on top of the workspace that we have right now, knowledge management tool that we have right now. Because actually what we realized is one of the ways people are using this knowledge management is also to file the bugs and the future product features and customer feedback. What are the customers saying? So all that is going into knowledge, but all that knowledge converts into tasks and projects and works, right? So I think it's only natural for us to have a project management tool which is based on the layer of knowledge management and which serves a community, because such a tool doesn't exist. So that is very high in our to-do list. I mean, that's one of the things that we're working on. And the second one that we're working on is the reputation management system. Right? I mean, what should it be? How should it be? How do we say that these guys are actually contributed a lot for a particular project? That whole system design and managing reputation. So that's the second thing that we are working on.
Both are, I think, very, very important and crucial. So, and then kind of extension. The first part is an extension, and second is more about adding a credibility to this entire ecosystem, so that people who are participating kind of are. That's interesting. That's good. I think the last part I want to know is that how did your Redbus journey help or is helping in the Wipsto journey?
Yeah, I think it is the seed, right? I mean, because this phenomena helped me in Redbus while building Redbus. I could even think of a solution that will institutionalize that phenomena of getting outside inputs into your project. So that is one way it is helping. The second way it is helping is, I mean, of course, it's giving me a lot of confidence about the virtues of this. I mean, if I had not gone through, right, I would probably, if I didn't know Web 2, right, I would not know what is Web 3. I mean, I would think that the way Web 3 projects are built are the way it has always been built, right? But lastly, I think having that experience of Web 2 is also helping me think of certain challenges of Web 3. Right, and then it is give me a perspective of how to solve it. Like, for example, like we know, I mean, while building Redbus, I realized that often when we have discussions, right, not everybody on the table has the same perspective. Let's say we are discussing about business development. There is a tech guy, there's a HR guy on the in the team. They have a very different perspective. One is because, okay, they bring in their fresh perspectives, which is great, but sometimes because they are not very knowledgeable about this subject, the discussion can also go haywire, right? So now, if we say that in DAOs, everybody has the equal vote, right? Then then I think we need to figure out a solution to how do people who don't have complete knowledge about a particular thing vote on that particular thing, right? Would they be making a wrong decision because of their incomplete knowledge about that subject? So some of those things which I've seen in Web2 in the real world, I'm just figuring out how will these problems be solved. And I'm seeing that the Web3 and the DAOs are evolving so fast, and they're moving towards figuring out a solution to this. And I think a solution will be figured out very soon. And my hunch is that the solution will be very, very similar to that of Web2, because Web2 organizations, the way we all collaborate, work together, has evolved over centuries, right? It is a well-oiled thing, right? So maybe it is the way to do it. I think the Web3 will also more or less, after these iterations, gravitate towards it, but with the virtues of Web3, which is being open, which is letting others to just participate permissionlessly into your project, right? These are the virtues which will make the way we work very, very powerful. Like today, there might be people who are very excited about what we are building. But if I were building into Web2, they can't come and join the mission. Whereas we are building it through Web3, they can permissionless come and join, lend their hand, pick up tasks, do this, and see through that journey. All right? So those are the virtues which are very powerful in Web3, which will come into Web2. But in Web2, the things that are powerful are people who are knowledgeable about the subject are the ones whose thing matters the most, and things like that, right? For example, I'll tell you, I mean, the way it is evolving, even for our own reputation management system and etc., we had a conversation with the community. I mean, not with the internal team. Last week, we had this conversation with the community, and we got a very powerful perspective from one of the community members, whose name in the community is SH31. So we don't know who he is, nothing. He's just SH31, right? So he was telling, he gave this brilliant perspective saying, hey, just like how the decisions are made in a blockchain by the nodes, by staking, right? Can we use something like that for making a decisions for DAOs? Like, for example, there's a strategy for marketing, right? So people get to vote on it, not instead of giving everybody the same weighted vote, can we, as the person contributes more and more in the marketing field, can he have bigger and bigger reputation, whatever that number or score or whatever it is? And hence, when he comes and say something in a decision, his stakes are higher. Can we use the same modus operandi of that of a blockchain in making the real world decisions by staking their reputation, right? If the decision is wrong, then their stakes go down and things like that. And I thought that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And that's a way we are actually channelizing the right decisions to the right knowledgeable people, which was the phenomenon of Web2. So I think with iterations, we will more or less arrive at some of these things which are the strengths of Web2, but with the virtues of Web3. And hence, I think that will be a very efficient way of collaborating and working together in future. And I'm really, really excited about that possibility and really looking forward to that.
Yeah, this actually sounds exciting, and I think we all should be looking forward to it. But thanks, Mani, for taking out time and discussing everything you have been up to in the Web3 world with Bipso. And yeah, I would just like to thank everyone. So this was our first episode of Masters of Code. which, like I mentioned, is a video series dedicated to builders of tomorrow who are busy scripting the future of technology. Today we had Funny, our hero from Web2, who is right now scripting something very interesting with Bipso and Web3. So yeah, thank you everyone, and thanks Funny again for your time.